James Dobbin here from Procurement Head's Head of Practice for Financial and Professional Services. I'm here today with Christoph Marr, the founder and managing director of Marr Procurement. Christoph, how are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm very good, thank you very much.
Great stuff. Look, I'm conscious you're on quite a tight timetable today, so we'll just dive in if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great. So, first question, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your procurement journey so far?
Yes, I can. So I've been in procurement now for nearly 28 years. So 7 years at Marks and Spencer's after studying business studies and supply chain quality at university. And at M&S it was as a buyer, so direct procurement. Then 7 years at IBM as procurement consultant, then head of procurement for IBM Europe. And then 7 years at Care UK, which is a healthcare organisation. So primary care, GPs, hospitals, learning disabilities, mental health, residential care, so a combination of healthcare and social care. And while I was there, we did a number of acquisitions. And whenever we did an acquisition, part of my role was to take that acquired supply base and merge it with our existing supply base. And whenever we did that, we needed some help. And I struggled to find a really good procurement organisation that shared our values of complete transparency and integrity, but also that could really come in and hit the ground running, so they were properly capable. So I started up Marr Procurement nearly 7 years ago, February 15, and we offer today what we offered then, which is really good quality procurement support, which is very honest, very transparent. We have a culture that says it as it is, and we genuinely do. But we also set the business up as a values-led business. And this bit's really important because the kind of role that we're going to talk about in a second that we're looking to recruit is got to be somebody who shares those values. So by values-led, for example, we've done pro bono work for Prostate Cancer UK, for MenCat, for the Salvation Army, for Myton Hospice, for St Helena Hospice. Last year in 2020, the board decided, and this was March, so this was just at the beginning of the pandemic, that we would donate 100% of our profits on PPE to charities. So we didn't wait to see that we'd have money from this. We decided that every penny would go. It felt wrong to profiteer out of a sector that at the time was on its knees. And that's perhaps one example of how we give back, how we're a values-led organisation. We also set up a pro bono procurement team during the pandemic. So we could easily have put some of the guys on furlough, and we chose to invest in those guys to provide a free procurement support to, again, some charities, 6 charities. So it's a big part of who we are is about behaviour, and it's about values. So whoever we recruit has got to be comfortable with those kind of values. But it's also about brand reputation. So in our industry, we are effectively buying on behalf of people, and we're spending a lot of money on behalf of people, of organisations. And it's really important that who we bring into the organisation shares that sense of responsibility and takes it really seriously and respects the trust that our clients have put in us.
Can you tell us a bit about the organisational structure and some of the big projects you've worked on, Christoph?
So we have a very lean organisational structure. I don't like big hierarchy. Given my experience in the corporate world, there's a lot of hierarchy, and I felt it quite often slowed down decision making. And we therefore have a very narrow, very slim senior management team, and we have then direct reports across a team of buyers and a team of analysts. The board meets once a month. On the board we have members of our senior leadership team, and also Sir William Wells, our chairman, and Paul Humphreys, who's our non-exec director, which then gives us proper governance in the organisation. And indeed, their wise counsel through the crisis has been extraordinary, important.
And how would you describe the culture at Marr Procurement?
Friendly, really hardworking, open, completely transparent. So we don't tolerate politics and games. It's just a waste of time. What we want is a group of people who share 2 things. One thing is the values, the integrity piece, and They just want to get on and have some fun and work hard on a really interesting and challenging projects. But also, secondly, these are people who don't just have those kind of values and behaviours, but they have the technical skill set. So if you look at our website and look at the bios of each member on our team, you'll see exactly what I mean. The depth of experience is extraordinary, and that's what we combine. So the culture in our business is you come in because you're experienced, you know what you're doing, but you should come in and have some fun as well. You know, we spend a lot of time at work and you should enjoy it.
Can you tell us a bit about the mandate that Procurement Heads has just taken on with you?
Yeah, so I'm delighted to say that we've appointed Procurement Heads. You guys are, in our view, the leading recruiter for procurement expertise. And what we're looking for is your help to find a candidate who can really help to take on a senior role with public sector clients. And we've been quite specific because while we've developed a brilliant business in health and care, and that's largely either private or local authority, we've recently, so January 2020, we were appointed by a high-profile maritime related public sector client, and we're now on our 5th project. We've just won another 4. So for us, it's a really important area of growth, and what we're looking for is somebody who's got real depth of public sector procurement expertise, who's been there, who's done it, who can come in and help us not just deliver, but also to help us grow this area within our organisation. We have some great people already in our team doing it. We want to now supplement that and invest accordingly because of the growth we're now seeing.
And what other skill sets and personality traits are you going to be looking for in the individual that you eventually appoint in this role?
Attention to detail, especially in a public sector procurement role, is vital. So a passion for really getting under the skin of the detail, following the process religiously, no shortcuts. Someone who will operate professionally, someone who can do a really good job creating a relationship with a client. We have extraordinary clients, and the client in particular that we're working with now, they're demanding. They've got high standards, and rightly so. So the kind of person that I'm looking for is someone who, on a personal level, can really resonate with our client, but can come in and offer proper depth of expertise in helping our client with that public sector procurement process across high value, multiple programs. And that's really important. Some of the money that we're talking about is material. So this is a responsible role.
Okay. And what will the person be procuring in this role, and into the detail a little bit, what else will they be doing for this client?
So it's a mix actually. So we started off, as I mentioned, maritime procurement in public sector, but actually it's now expanded into office supplies, temporary labour, energy, insurance, goods, services that you'd expect in the maritime world. So it's what's exciting, I think, about this role is we need somebody who's actually interested in getting involved in multiple categories in a public sector environment.
Fantastic. And what kind of procurement function do they have in place already? Are you able to say? I appreciate you can't say too much about the client.
Yeah, no, I can certainly tell you some bits and pieces. They are a highly capable team, so properly skilled, very professional procurement function. But what they've found is that every now and again they need support with bandwidth. So this is not that they need support with capability. It's purely they need support with bandwidth, and they're looking to us to help supplement and fill those gaps when they have a bandwidth need. So they are highly professional, highly experienced, have been doing it for a long time, so they really know their stuff. This is purely about helping them put proper feet on the ground to support them so they can get through a much higher, larger volume of work and get through their work plan.
Now, you've obviously mentioned maritime as well as other category areas, which is really exciting. Would a maritime background be useful in this role? And if there are any other backgrounds that might be useful from a public sector perspective, what might they be? Yeah,
that's a really good question. I think the critical things that I'm looking for are deep public sector expertise. That could be maritime, it could be the automotive, it could be defence, I don't think it really matters, but it's someone who's got a passion for and really understands the public sector procurement process. I don't think it's absolutely necessary that this individual has maritime experience. Is that beneficial? Yeah, of course it is. But I don't think it's an absolute necessity. It needs to be somebody who has got deep experience, so can come in, can understand the process, can help work with a client and work with that team to make sure that we're doing the right thing by the client so that they don't fall or become susceptible to challenge.
For someone who's been working in the public sector for a number of years, who's watching this video, I think sometimes that working in consulting can be quite a daunting prospect. If they've not worked in a consulting role before, what would your advice be, and what traits do you think that they would need to be successful in a consulting role?
That's a really good question. It's really worth thinking through what we mean by consultancy. So consultancy can mean an awful lot to different people. What we're talking about here is a doer. It's somebody who can come in and run multiple public sector procurement processes. That's what we're looking for. So quite often in consultancy, there's an advisory part to consulting. Now, there'll be some of that in this role, but there won't be a great deal of that. What we're looking for is a doer. So for someone who's watching this video, who is doing public sector procurement, so has run multiple processes over a number of years and loves doing so, they're the kind of person that we want to talk to. So I'd say don't be daunted by it. This role is we're looking for someone who's been doing it, and all we're doing is we're saying, come and do it with us, with a really high profile, amazing client. But it's also worth mentioning that we've got big growth aspirations. And I think that's quite exciting actually for this role, because the growth we're seeing isn't just maritime. We're doing already a lot of housing association work. We see that as a really big growth area for us, and some of our housing association clients are the biggest in the UK. So this isn't just about maritime. That's the number one priority clearly today, but there's a big opportunity for somebody to come in and experience and work with different clients across different categories, but also different parts of public sector. And I'm hoping that would make this role quite exciting, so quite varied and quite challenging.
Can you give us a rough idea of the spend that this person will be dealing with and the number of suppliers?
So the number of suppliers varies hugely by category, so it wouldn't mean an awful lot if I gave the number of suppliers, because it really does differ hugely. You get some categories where there's only a small number, and others where there's substantial. Value of spend, you're looking at tens, hundreds of millions for this specific client. But if I give you, for example, one of our other clients, Housing Association, we did a piece of work for a large housing association last year, and it was 1.1 billion. So the level of spend varies. What's more, I think, important to me is less about the value of the spend, but more about someone who's got a passion for this and is as excited doing a project where there could be just a couple of million quid of spend, but equally excited if they're doing £50 million opportunity or £1 billion. So I'm hoping that we can attract somebody who actually gets excited about the whole range of spend areas.
Again, for somebody watching who's perhaps working for one employer and going into the same office, and with some of the things the pandemic has thrown up, I often get questions around working policy, hybrid working. So what is your office policy? Do you want people in the office or to be with the client 5 days a week? What kind of travel can they expect in this role?
So I think the way to answer that is, and if nothing else, we've learned during COVID that you have to be flexible. Things are changing all the time. And I therefore think what we're saying today may not be the same in 6 months' time. So where I am today, we need somebody who's flexible, somebody who's as happy to work at home as they are to go to sit and work with a client. This particular client does not demand 5 days a week in their office. Neither do we demand somebody who turns up 5 days a week in an office. I think those days are behind us. I think what we should be offering is complete flexibility, but a candidate who's really happy and excited and enthused to jump in the car, go to a client meeting, go to a supplier meeting, and that's really important. What we don't want is someone who doesn't like getting out. We're an outward-facing organisation. We are client-facing, And that's what drives our culture. So we've recruited people into our team who enjoy that. So this kind of role needs to be somebody who's flexible, who's happy to work in an office should that be required, happy to go and see clients and work in their site should it be required. But equally, we need to offer flexibility to make sure this role's attractive.
And where might they be travelling to?
So I'd rather not say precisely because that will tell you exactly where the client is, and we can't divulge the identity of the client at this stage. It could be all over the UK. It would not be international travel. All of our business is UK, and our plan is to remain UK centric. But it could be Wales, Scotland, England. It could be all over the UK.
Are there any qualifications that this person might need for this role?
Yeah, I think there are. So our client deeply values the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply, as do we. So I think MSIPS is very important. And I think the kind of candidate we're looking for really does need to have MSIPS. I think it gives a benchmark to our client that this candidate has taken their education seriously and wants to progress. So I think that's critical for this kind of role, MSIPS. Degree or otherwise, we're flexible. It does need to be somebody who enjoys complex processes, public sector processes.
And what's the remuneration for this role?
So we're offering £65,000 to £70,000 a year. And what we're looking for, I think, in return is somebody who's really experienced, hence why we're offering that kind of money. It's we think, a bit above where we should be paying, to be honest. But I think that's right. I think the kind of people that I want to recruit into my business, I want them to feel they're being properly rewarded for the job that they do and paid properly so they feel truly valued when they come and join us.
And finally, for somebody watching, why would they want to join Marr Procurement?
It's a really good question. So perhaps another way of rephrase it is what differentiates us. So why are we different? It's the combination of genuinely impeccable values of integrity with working with an extraordinary team, and just look at the bios again on the website, with amazing clients. And I think it's quite unusual to have a procurement function that manages to combine that. So there's total transparency commercially. We never will be incentivized by any supplier. It's a big part of our code of conduct. The kind of people that you'd be working with are brilliant. And I've worked with some very capable people over the years. I've pulled together a team who I think are at the top end of that level of capability, because that's what our clients want, but also they're fun to work with.